Hi everyone, hope you managed yesterday's tasks all right. Those questions might take you up to 2 periods to do. I'm trying to make sure you've got work for the 5 periods you would be in higher. If you are finding it too much or we're going too quick or you don't understand something, it's really important you ask. I promise I won't be angry or upset. It's really important you ask for help at the earliest opportunity. I'm also learning how to deliver this higher through technology. It is much easier in a classroom when you can ask questions on the spot, or when I can see your faces that tell me you've not got a clue what I have just said. I can see it on your face. So please ask for help. Keep yourselves going as much as you can. This video is going to look at starting our first study theme kind of properly in depth. The information I'm going to give you over the course of this video is enough for about 3 or 4 lessons. Pause it, come back to it, watch a couple minutes, go and do some of the questions. Watch a few more, come back. Don't sit and watch this all at the same time because you'll forget half of it. I know what you're like. I know what I'm like. So, excuse me. We need to understand various ways our elected representatives can hold our government to account. Explain how MPs can question those in power and evaluate how effective they are. It is really, really important. You don't just say, oh, MPs can do this, this, and this. You need to be able to tell me, why is that good or bad? Is that good because it's really strong power, or actually is it limited? Does it only work under a certain condition? So as we go through, think about that. These are the kind of questions that you could get in the higher exam based on this study theme. So I'll let you pause that to have a read. You need to be able to sum up what's good and bad about how Parliament works. The way the question is worded, you can talk about Scottish politics, UK politics, or both. For the purpose of this year for higher, I'm going to be teaching using the UK politics model and discussing Westminster. If, however, you add in examples that show Boris Johnson can do this in the UK, but Nicola Sturgeon as First Minister does this, that is fine at higher. They're okay with you making links between the two. You just have to make it really clear which one you're talking about. So are you talking about UK or Scotland? Or you can mix and do both. That's not a problem either. Today, these are the 4 examples we're going to look at. So we're going to look at Prime Minister's questions, committees, the House of Lords, and the use of debates or votes. There are loads more ways we hold government to account, but by focusing on 4, that's the maximum you would need to get a 20-mark essay. I don't want to overload you and go on and tell you about loads of other things that they can do, because that can just get quite a lot. So, Prime Minister's questions. This photo was taken last week during COVID. So that's why there's not many members of Parliament there. However, it is normally the busiest time of Parliament in the week. Those green seats are normally full to the stage that they're sitting like this, cramped in. It really doesn't look comfortable. Questions are submitted in advance by members of Parliament directly to the Prime Minister. If the Prime Minister cannot be there, then they will nominate in advance who will take the questions. There have been cases, for example, where Prime Minister's questions has been handed over to someone, the Defence Secretary after a terrorist attack, or for fear of an incoming attack to update and give relevant information, because they will be best in knowledge to do that. The opposition leader can ask up to 6 questions. Here, that's this person here, is relatively new. His name is Keir Starmer. He is head of the Labour Party. He was only voted in March, so he's still getting used to the job. However, he is a former QC, Queen's Counsel. What does it mean? He was a very, very good, very strong barrister in law. He would argue cases in court. So, think about that. If you were Prime Minister going up against someone who has argued in court on very important cases, would you feel comfortable, or would that put the fear into you? Is that a good thing? Does that mean Prime Minister's questions is good to hold Boris Johnson to account? When we say holding to account, what we mean is don't let him away with anything. Don't let the government just do things. Holding to account means we are checking what they're doing is right, that it is fair, that it does not breach human rights, that it does not lead to more inequality. Holding them to account is making sure they're doing the right thing. In this situation, the Prime Minister is put on the spot to answer questions. Previous Prime Ministers, David Cameron and Tony Blair, have commented in biographies, but also in interviews, just about how nerve-wracking it is. Tony Blair particularly talked about how he used to dread every Wednesday morning. David Cameron was the same, because it's so intense. This is also broadcast live on TV. It's recorded and it's immediately put up on YouTube, so anybody around the world can watch it. Now, why is that good? That would be your evaluation here. Why does that make Prime Minister's questions good? If it's filmed live and it's put on TV, think about it. Can you make a mistake if it's going out live? If you've got thousands of people watching it on YouTube, if you make a mistake and mess up, does that make you look good? Not very. However, it's not always strong. Now, this again is evaluation. This is your however. Prime Minister's questions is not always effective because it's only half an hour out of a week. The questions are sent in advance. You send someone a question in advance, what does it mean? If you'd seen your exam paper last year, what would that have meant? You would know the answers, wouldn't you? You'd be prepared. Many MPs also complain about loads of jeering and shouting. Now, I've included a link here to give you an example. This is from a Prime Minister's questions before lockdown, so it shows you just how busy it is. Now, the jeering and shouting, there's a few aspects that mean that's not good. One, would you be confident standing up and asking the Prime Minister a question in front of 600 members of Parliament who are about to start shouting? Some of you would. In fact, I can think of several of you right now, and you probably know it's you who would give it a good go. The other option is the jeering and shouting takes up precious question time. They don't quiet down just like that. It's not like, wait, okay, done. It can go on and actually eats into answer time and question time. So it means less questions are asked of the Prime Minister in those 30 minutes. Also, MPs can be in the leading party. It may be a Conservative MP who's asking Boris Johnson a question. Does that mean they're just going to show off? Does that mean they're just going to say, I'd like to congratulate the Prime Minister this week on a great job. Could you comment on what else he's doing? The Prime Minister would probably turn around and go, I'm so glad, thank you for recognising the hard work. Yes, I can. Here's what else we're doing. So does that hold them to account, or does it just allow them to show off what they're doing? I'll leave that thought with you. Next, committees. For those that did Scottish politics last year, it's very similar. Just be careful with your examples here. For those who haven't done committees before, please don't panic. I will go over everything here. Committees are groups of members of Parliament, groups of MPs that come together to discuss specific issues. How do they check the government? Well, for example, there is an education committee. Their job, and there's usually between 11 and 20 of MPs on the group, their job is to go, okay, guys, here's what the Education Secretary is saying. Here's what they want. Here's the money they need to do it. Do we agree or disagree? And their job, excuse me, their job is to work out if that's correct. Are the government giving enough funding, or are they scrimping and being really stingy? It involves MPs from different groups. It is not just the leading party. So on the group, you will have Conservatives, Labour, Lib Dem, SNP, Independents, Green. The idea is that the wider the diversity, the better in holding the government to account. Because if you've got people from different backgrounds, specialities, opinions, that's going to be more useful. For example, if you're on the Education Committee, you're an MP. However, before you were elected an MP, you were a teacher. Think about the knowledge you could bring of education to the committee to go, actually, I'd really like to question the government on point 4 because it doesn't make sense and it doesn't sound like something that's achievable in schools. So committees, they're often people who are interested in an area. It could be health, defence, education, and they can also call witnesses. The photo you've got on the screen there is David Cameron being called to witness, and they can grill them for hours about, can you clarify what this document means? And if they can't, they can keep going and keep going. A good example of a committee is that in 2015, a brand new committee was created in Parliament. This was the Petitions Committee. The Petitions Committee was created because this is when the government moved the petition system online. You've probably been on it or seen it on Facebook or Snapchat, where it's the green and white screen saying you can start a petition. If it gets over 100,000 signatures, Parliament have to debate it. The Petitions Committee, however, will look at the evidence first. And it might be that they're able to provide an answer because, unfortunately, some petitions are a little bit silly. And it wouldn't be a wise thing to spend hours in the House of Commons debating. So they would discuss that. Another example here, in 2016, Prime Minister Theresa May here was questioned for over 2 hours straight by the Liaison Committee on what her plans for striking a deal to the EU was. So they grilled her about, is a no deal possible? When she wouldn't answer the question, they went back with another. It's relentless and putting you on the spot. It means you need to know why you're doing things. It means you have to know what your reason is behind it. So is that good at holding the government to account? What's not so good about committees? Well, the government can ask them to look at a paper or a policy, but it doesn't have to take their advice at all. Boris Johnson can go, oh, thanks, Education Committee, and literally throw it out the window. I would hope he wouldn't, but there is nothing that binds him. There is nothing that says, you must do this. The chair for the committee, so the person who leads and runs the committee, is elected within the House of Commons. However, since Boris Johnson became PM back in December, there's been no elections for new committees, so where are the committees? Is that good or bad? We don't have people examining policies and evidence. They also aren't very popular. The media doesn't really pick up on them unless there is something significant. So Theresa May being questioned on Brexit, that was quite a hot topic, but you wouldn't hear about committees day to day. Going on to the House of Lords. The House of Lords, remember the big red chairs, they have to scrutinise bills before they become laws. They genuinely go through that in so much detail. Some of them are linked to a political party because they've been chosen by the political party or nominated by the political party to be there, but not all. You will see some called crossbenchers or non-affiliates. It basically means they're an independent. They don't have to follow a party guide or preference. They can debate a bill for a maximum of 1 year. However, the SNP do want it abolished. They don't think it's wise having an unelected chamber. How can you justify someone there? The other thing to add at this point is once you are nominated and are accepted into the House of Lords, it's for life. So whereas the House of Commons, you serve a 5-year term and you can rerun as many times as you like in an election. There are people who have been MPs for 30, 35 years. In the House of Lords, at no point are you questioned on that. Once you're in, and that's it. So think about whether that's good or that's bad. Lords can be really useful. Theresa May actually faced 69 defeats between her years as Prime Minister. The last time it was that high was back under a Labour government. This is an example here you could use of saying the Lords can defeat the Prime Minister. That means they basically go, this law is rubbish, we don't like it, we're sending it back to you. That's a defeat. We're not passing it. Here, the defeat was in February last year, and it was because the Lords wanted Theresa May to say that we would not be leaving unless that we would not be having a no-deal Brexit. I had to get my words the right way around there. They wanted to make sure that there will be some kind of deal with the EU before we officially leave, so they sent it back. And she was defeated several times in the House of Lords and the House of Commons because they wanted this. The last little section that we're looking at this week, so remember, this is a few lessons at a time. I'm giving you a lot of information. The debate chamber in the House of Commons, that big bit with the green seats, is where they question the government. Debates can go on for hours. Funnily enough, MPs don't have to be there. So quite often, when you see the House of Commons full, it's because it's a really popular bill or it's something that MPs feel really strongly about. All MPs are treated equally. They all get a chance to contribute. They all have to be respectful to each other. They're not allowed, for example, to call each other names. There is someone who is in charge of the chamber, so a little bit like a teacher to keep them under control. He's called the Speaker, that's his title, and he can give them into trouble if they fall out of line with procedures. This can be super useful. Back in January, February 2019, and I promise I will have more examples, not just Brexit. However, they are the most recent and up-to-date, which we know for modern studies is the favourite thing, to have up-to-date as possible. Theresa May suffered 3 huge defeats in the House of Commons during the votes. MPs totally rejected what she was suggesting for Brexit and the future of UK's link with the EU. She tried her best. She effectively, to be fair, for one, just put the same bill back on the table and went, please take it this time, which didn't quite work. But even Conservative MPs were voting against her. And it was the worst defeat, I think, in 80 years of a Prime Minister. So debates and votes can be really important. It can definitely sway people. If you, as an MP, make a passionate speech, you might convince another MP, actually, do you know what? I shouldn't be voting yes on this. I should be voting no. So they can be very powerful. So there's a little graph there for you. I've got the link to the Guardian article in the notes if you want to have a look at the full document. 1924 was the year. She did have a minority government. However, loads of people voted against her. And what you can see there is the amount of MPs that voted against her. This is sometimes called a party whip. So just to clarify, I know there's a lot of key terms this week until we get running into the course, so do go over them. A party whip is an order from someone in the political party that says how you have to vote. Normally, MPs get a free vote. Yeah, you know what, we'd really like your support, but we think this is a really good bill. We think this is a really good idea, and actually lots of Labour people supported, SNP, Greens supported, so we think we'll be good. So yeah, a free vote, whatever you feel is best for your constituents, your people in your area. Great. If they're like, well, guys, we're a little bit worried about this, they can issue like a 1-line whip. Guys, look, if you could, we really need you to vote on this. But they're not going to get in trouble if they don't. A 2-line whip is a bit, look, I'm going to have to come and talk to you. Do you really want to be a member of the Conservative Party if you keep going and voting against us like this? I'm going to have to, it's my job as party whip to talk to you. You still probably won't get kicked out. However, a 3-line whip is, I don't care if you're dying and your kidneys are falling out, you are coming here and voting. Now, you might giggle a bit at that. There have been stories of members of Parliament who have been taken in from hospital. There was, during the Brexit arguments, there were MPs who were genuinely due to give birth that week who were taken in wheelchairs to vote because every vote counted. There was actually an MP who pushed back her caesarean section. So she was due to get sectioned to have the baby on one day. She postponed it a week so she could vote. The 3-line whip is if I find out you have gone against us, I will kick you out of the party and your life will not be worth living. It's really serious. But they will expect MPs unless you genuinely have no way of getting there. Even then, they have been known to send taxis to people's houses to bring them in. So yeah, 3-line whip, don't go against it. There are problems with our current voting system in Westminster. You may notice that in the Scottish Parliament, anytime they have a vote, it's at the touch of a button. They've got a voting screen in front of them. Now that is checked to make sure it's accurate. It's not going to run out of batteries because essentially the system they use can still align their vote and go, right, Nicola Sturgeon voted this, John Swinney voted this. So it's very clear. In Westminster, they don't have anything like that. MPs still have to queue to go out 2 doors at the end of the Chamber of the Commons. One corridor is the aye corridor, so yes, I agree with this. One corridor is the no corridor, for no, this should not happen. There are 650 MPs trying to get through 2 doors for 1 vote. Once they're through, they also need to be counted by an individual who is impartial and noted to make sure it's accurate. And then they have to come back into the chamber, take their normal seats and get settled. Think about the time difference there. Due to this, what we find is that quite often amendments to bills, so important things like, actually, I would like to change that bit of the bill because the wording's a little bit tricky, that can fall through because there's not time to debate it. Right, sorry guys, you've had your time to debate, we need to vote now, tough, get on with it. So there can be important decisions missed out and discussions missed out. There's an example at the bottom there as well of Johnson. He sacked a lot of his cabinet earlier this year, his first cabinet as well, because they didn't follow a 3-line whip. What did he do? He just appointed new ones. Nobody gets to question his cabinet. Does that mean that MPs can hold him to account? If he just goes, fine, chuck you, get new ones. Does that mean we're effective? So, thinking about the questions you've got in your document for this week, you need to be able to evaluate those 4 sections. How well do these things do their job? So Prime Minister's questions, it's good because, however, it's not good because. Are they actually helping to hold the government to account? Are they actually making Boris Johnson sweat and make sure that he does a good job? Or is it just a tick box of, oh yeah, we have to have a debate, I've asked a question, great, over, next? What's the potential limitations? So by that I mean, can it only go so far? If the leading party is a majority government, is that a limit of other MPs? Because it doesn't matter what they do, the Conservatives could issue a 3-line whip and pray that all the Conservative MPs vote on something to pass it. Is the group elected? House of Lords isn't. Is that good or bad? Could be good because you could have experts. You could have a professor on medicine in there who has been a doctor, medical doctor for years, who is teaching medicine to students at a really good university and who wants to be involved in laws about the NHS and is very knowledgeable on the topic. Now, they're going to be more knowledgeable than a Prime Minister who's not been a doctor. That's just a fact. Can the Prime Minister overrule that group? Does a minority or a majority government make a difference? So a minority government is one that's under half the members of Parliament are the biggest party. Majority is when it's over half. Now, what I want you to start thinking about, and we're going to do more on this next week or the week after, is analysis. Why is this important? So in your nationals, or for those of you who maybe did nationals and hires last year, analysis is basically the why. Okay, you've told me Prime Minister's questions is good because MPs can put questions directly to Boris Johnson. However, it's bad because it's only 30 minutes. What do I care? That sounds horrible, but okay, and? So you need to link this. This is where your analysis marks in an essay will come from. Like I say, we will do more on this. But essentially, you need to tell me, why is that significant? Why is that important? So if you look at the example at the bottom of the slide, PMQs is useful because he has to answer questions live. Therefore, the PM may be worried about being embarrassed or shown to be incompetent on TV and needs to make sure they're doing a good job. Your analysis there is coming from, it's live. If it was live, why is that important? Well, the Prime Minister needs to look good on TV. If you're thinking about the House of Lords is a group of people in the chamber who are nominated and put forward by others. This can include professionals in education, medicine, so on. This is useful because laws in different areas can have experts view and comment on them. Hopefully that makes sense. So your evaluation is, it's good because, it's bad because. Your analysis is why. Why does that matter? You've told me something. Why is it significant to the question? The last thing I'm going to show you is this grid is on your document. I know I'm asking you to do questions, but for some of those questions, you might prefer to use this. You don't have to do both. This will also allow me to see who's actually watched this video. I am debating adding questions into the video just to trick you out and see if you pay attention. Like count how many times I say something or tell me the random word I insert. So just be aware, I will be checking. So you might prefer to use this grid on a bit of paper in a jotter or just on a Google Doc, saying, right, House of Lords is good because this, give me examples. Make sure you've got examples in there, and it's limited or it's not good at holding government to account because this. That's a really nice, easy way to kind of gather your notes for this. And it means if you got a question on evaluate how effective Parliament is in holding government to account, you can go, I can do this. I can evaluate it because I can tell you why this is good, why it's bad, why it's good, why it's bad. 20 marks in the bag. Hopefully this video has helped. Please let me know if you are watching them. I am more than happy to make videos. I'm more than happy to do talkthroughs, walkthroughs, guide, whatever you want to call them. However, if nobody's watching these, you've probably gathered it's quite a lot of time spent making them, making sure they're accurate, editing any bits. So if nobody's watching them, tell me what you'd rather have instead. If you are watching them, even if you just comment something and say, yep, I've watched it, or a thumbs up or something, I don't mind. Look after yourselves. This work is to take about a week. I will check in. We will have a live this week once I know you've all done the poll. And I am on hand. I will answer emails most days. What I would say is, please give me at least a day to reply. So at least 24 hours. Sometimes I've got meetings and things to do that I would love to reply to you, but I've got to physically be on a video meeting to do with something. So give me a day. My plan as well is to have feedback within 1 week. So if you've completed something that was due on the Friday, my plan is that you would have it back by the next Friday. If you've got worries about that or you want more feedback, just let me know. I will see you all soon.